Hey guys, welcome. Welcome. Let's see, how do I look here? Not too bad. I'm kind of glowing a little bit. Is that okay? It's not going to bother anybody. Can you see me? You can't see me? Can anybody see me? Can you see the angelic glow? Ooh. Oh, good. Okay. It might have taken a minute there to get from here in Maryland to where you are. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. Did I get a haircut? No, I need one actually. I'm getting a little bushy. Thanks for asking. So we have several types of students here in our class. We have some of my faithful Spanish students. Some of you may know that I lead weekly Spanish practice classes for those who are doing the easy peasy all-in-one homeschool Spanish 1 course. And we also have some non-Spanish students, some who are joining us maybe for the first time. So welcome to everybody. I'm glad to have you here. I'm breaking up. I'm sorry. Am I lagging? Uh-oh. Well, hopefully that will clear up in a minute here. Just let me know if you keep still having trouble in a few minutes here. Okay, so let's get started. Just a couple things I wanted to mention first of all, to kind of keep it a little bit orderly. We do have this chat box, as you can see, hopefully. If you haven't found the chat box yet, just find where it says chat, and you can click that, and it should give you a chat box. And you are welcome to ask questions there, but if you could refrain from chatting, like just random stuff, that would be helpful, because right now there's 31 of you, so it's kind of a lot. So just focus on asking questions. Like I'll do a little presenting, and then we'll have some question time, and I'll do some more and some question time. So try to wait till the question times if you can, okay? To keep it from being like too much crazy chatting, okay? So no random chatting, please. And also try not to turn your webcams on if possible. Sometimes they come on by themselves, it seems like. But yeah, you technically can, but I would rather you not, because it's distracting to have like faces popping up here and there and stuff. No, we're not doing breakout rooms today. That's for Spanish practice. Nope. We'll stay all together. Okay, so I know breakout rooms are fun, but tough, man. Deal with it. Okay, so let's do this, people. We are going to talk about Christmas traditions around the world. And I'm kind of focusing a little more on some unusual ones, okay? So let's just get one thing straight here at the beginning. I realize not all of us in class and not all of us who are going to be viewing this recording afterwards are the same religion or the same background or anything like that. That's fine. But I just wanted to make it clear that for me, my family and I were Christians, and so the main focus of Christmas for us is what's written in the Bible, the birth of Jesus. So that's why Christmas is important to us and stuff. However, as you know, there are also many other traditions that have kind of sprung up over the years concerning Christmas, around Christmas in different parts of the world. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be looking at some different countries, some different cultures and stuff. And those of us who are Americans, wait, first of all, is there anybody here who's not an American? Because we might ask you about your traditions afterwards. Go ahead, identify yourselves. Anybody? Anybody from Canada or anybody anywhere else? Tell us where you're from if you're not in the US, because we are very curious. You're half Norwegian? Okay, but you're in the US, right? You're not in Norway, right? Okay. Anyway, you guys are in New York. That's almost a different country, man. Cool. Okay. So I think the vast majority of us are Americans. You're from Ecuador? Oh, cool. Okay. So we can ask you what you guys do in Ecuador at the end. That would be very interesting. Thank you. Most of us who are American kind of think that, there are these traditions we have like Santa Claus and the reindeer and presents on Christmas morning and things like that. And we think this is normal, right? We think this is how Christmas is done. This is just stuff we've grown up with. We're used to it, and everything. But we're going to be looking at some very different traditions around the world here in a minute. And before we start thinking, oh, those people in those other countries do things weird, man. They got some weird stuff going on. I'm glad we got our normal traditions here. Before we start thinking that way, let's kind of look at our own traditions maybe through the eyes of somebody from a different culture. Like, imagine you have a friend from some other country and you're trying to explain to them some of the American Christmas traditions because they're confused. They see like Santa Claus everywhere and they hear about church and they're just not getting this, okay? So you're trying to explain it, okay? And you're like, yeah, there's this guy Santa Claus. He's this elderly overweight guy, right? And has this big red, white, fuzzy outfit on, and he goes around, illegally entering millions of homes in one night, actually. How does he get there? Well, yeah, that's a good question. He arrives on a sleigh that flies, carried by reindeer that fly, and yeah, he gives presents to millions of kids, and somehow they've all fit in this one bag. And he gets down the chimney somehow because he's like overweight and all. But somehow he fits down there. It's not dirty, okay? He gets out, he's perfectly clean. And then he moves on to the next house all in one night. And somehow he doesn't get like shot down by any country's like anti-aircraft censor or something like that. And you see where I'm going with this? Our stuff is weird too, okay, if you think about it. It's just, what is that? That's crazy. And I'm not even talking about the whole he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake thing. That's creepy right there. That's messed up, all right? So we got some weird stuff going on too. So we can't be judging other people. Yeah, so some of this stuff's going to be like different, but not necessarily wrong. Okay, one of them I'm going to say is wrong. It's just bad. We'll see what I mean when we get there. But all the rest of it, yeah. I know Santa's really creepy. I've always been kind of bothered by Santa. I mean, the original guy, St. Nicholas, he seemed like a good guy, but then something happened along the way. Anyway, so I just wanted to throw that out there. So, yeah, just check out this dude. It's a little weird. I mean, I just wanted to put that out there. Let's think about that as we talk about some of this other stuff, okay? All right, then. So should we move on to the first thing? The first one, we're going to start in Sweden. Okay, so some of you may have some Swedish heritage. There's this thing that happens in Sweden, actually in just this one town called Gävle or something. I'm not sure of the pronunciation of it, something like that. Gävle, there's this one town where they have a giant 13-meter high straw goat. It's a Christmas goat. It's modeled on the Swedish Yule goat, which is apparently a thing there that they do. So there's this tradition in this one town to erect this huge straw goat. And here's a picture of it. They put lights on it and stuff. It's always snowing, and usually at that time of year in Sweden because it's a northern climate, right? So it's kind of festive looking. That's pretty cool. The thing is, there's this other tradition associated with it. This has only been going on since 1966, by the way. This isn't a real like ancient thing or anything to do this giant goat. There's another tradition, and that is arson. Okay, it's traditional to burn this thing down. I mean, that's not what you're officially supposed to do, but most years since 1966, this thing has been burned to the ground, and they have like really heavy security, armed guards and stuff around it, and sensors and everything, and apparently somehow it still gets burned down. People really got some skills going on there. So that is the Swedish Gävle goat tradition for you. Giant straw goat that gets burned down. Yeah, okay. They have one in Norway too? Really? Like a Yule goat? Yeah, I guess goats are part of Scandinavian culture there. They're important to traditional life up there, so it makes sense. Okay, does that make sense? So moving right along, actually, you know what? The next one that I wanted to talk about real briefly, I don't have a picture for because it's too scary. I mean, I couldn't find any picture that was not terrifying, so I just didn't want to disturb. I don't know if there's any little children watching this, so I don't have any pictures. This is the one that I believe personally is just bad. It's wrong, and that is the tradition of Krampus in Austria. Has anybody heard of Krampus? He goes by different names probably, but in Austria, there's this evil devil-like creature that is said to accompany Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas is the good guy, right? He goes around, he's more or less like Santa Claus. He goes around, especially on Saint Nicholas Day, which is December 6th, kind of leading up to the Christmas season. And Saint Nicholas goes around giving presents to good children. That's all well and good, except he's accompanied by Krampus, who is this evil, scary devil guy. He carries a bag with which to whisk away bad children. Okay, he's like a kidnapper. So what happens is the night before December 6th, young men in Austria kind of dress up as this evil character and go around like with bells and roaring and stuff and try and scare kids. So I don't know how this contributes to the whole Christmas spirit thing, but somehow they feel like this is a good thing. It's like Christmas and Halloween coming together. I just don't agree with it. I have problems with this. Yeah, so that's Krampus. So we're not going to show any pictures of him, okay? Moving right along. And by the way, does anybody have any questions so far? Not that I would necessarily know the answer, but like, why do they do Krampus? I cannot tell you. I can only guess it's parents trying to terrify their children into being good. We'll talk more about that in a minute because there's something similar in Germany. We're going to get to that. Okay, Iceland. Let's move up to Iceland. Do you guys know where Iceland is? It's not a huge island. It's an island country considered part of Scandinavia. It's up in the North Atlantic Ocean. Okay, it's a really cool place. I've never been there, but I hear it's very neat. So in Iceland, they have this tradition of the Yule Lads. And it's like so popular that they even have them on milk cartons. That's a milk carton there. And they got pictures of the different Yule Lads on there. So basically there's these 13 little guys from Icelandic folklore, right? And they each have different names and different characteristics. Some of them, let's see, I wrote down some of their names. Spoon Licker is one of them. Apparently he licks spoons, which is pretty nasty actually. And there's Window Peeper. He spies on you through the window. There's Sausage Swiper. Your sausages are not safe around that guy. And there's Doorway Sniffer. I'm not sure what he's sniffing for, but and then there's a bunch of others that are kind of like that, like Pot Scraper and stuff like that. Okay, so these guys are not supposed to be scary. They're kind of mischievous, sort of cute, a little bit unnerving, a little frightening. I don't know. But basically, the 13 nights leading up to Christmas, one of these guys will come, a different one each night, and visit each child in Iceland, I guess. I don't know if they work outside of Iceland or not. But so they leave little gifts in the shoes. The kids leave out their shoes, which is a common thing in Europe. They leave out their shoes, and these little Yule Lad dudes will stick a present in the shoe, or if it's a bad kid, put a rotten potato in there. I wonder how often that happens. Okay, yeah, it's like the 13 days of Christmas. So anyway, those are the Yule Lads. So they're really a big thing in Iceland. I don't think I left anything out about them. You can look more into them if you want to like know all their names and stuff. Okay, so that's kind of cool. A little creepy also, but I don't know. How long is this? You mean this class? It's an hour maximum, 1 hour. Yeah. Now, another thing in Iceland, before we leave Iceland, because there's another really cool thing in Iceland. It's the Christmas book flood. It's like a thing in Iceland where like on Christmas Eve, people will exchange gifts, but just books. They give each other books. And then they stay up all night on Christmas Eve reading the books. This is like what most people in Iceland do. Okay, it's a Christmas tradition. So it's such a big deal that, like, I can't remember the exact statistic, but during that time, Iceland publishes more books per person than any other country. And here's like a greeting card even for that thing. It's happy, and then that means Christmas book flood in Icelandic. It's something like Jóla bókaflóð or something like that. I don't know exactly how to say it. If there's any Icelandic people in the audience now, please forgive my mispronunciation. Probably like said your grandma wears combat boots or something by accident, but anyway, that's my best attempt. Okay, so anyway, that's the Christmas book flood in Iceland. That's pretty cool. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and take my specs off here. I think I can see better. They're like, I sat on them the other day, so they're a little crooked. Actually, I'm thinking I'm going to keep them on. There we go. Just had to like twist them a little bit. Okay, are we good? So moving right along, let's go to Germany now. And we are going to get out of Europe here in a minute. We're doing all Europe so far, but we're going to go to some other places in a minute. But before we get out of Europe, let's talk about Germany. So they have something kind of similar to what we talked about in Austria with the scary dude. St. Nicholas goes around, and he looks different than the American Santa Claus. You can see a picture of him in the middle there. And he is accompanied sometimes by Father Christmas, who's one of those guys in the picture you see. Sorry, it's a little blurry. And he's also accompanied by someone named Knecht Ruprecht in German. It means literally farmhand Ruprecht. So he's this kind of sinister character with a dirty, dark robe, and he goes around and he doesn't necessarily kidnap the bad children, but while St. Nicholas is giving out presents, this Knecht Ruprecht guy like might beat them or something. He carries a switch to beat them, sometimes a small whip. So he takes care of business. If you've been bad, you probably want to avoid Austria and Germany during the Christmas season, right? Because this dude will tan your hide if you're not careful. Anyway, let's see. Oh, another thing he might show up during the day, like at schools or something. I'm talking about St. Nicholas here. And he'll give presents to the kids, like in exchange for singing a song or reciting a poem or something. So that's kind of cool. And I don't know if they let Knecht Ruprecht tag along too. He's kind of scary. They might cause trouble in the schools. But I have a personal story about that, actually. Let me get a swig. Hey, a new arrival. Did you miss talking about Krampus? You did, but we're mentioning his cousin here, Knecht Ruprecht in Germany. So the other day we were visiting some friends of ours who live here in Pennsylvania, close to us, and they are from Germany. They've been in the United States for a few years, and the guy grew up on a farm in South Germany, in Bavaria, right, where this tradition is really popular. And he told us that when he was a boy, his parents would hire these two dudes to dress up as St. Nicholas and Knecht Ruprecht and come to their farm, and Knecht Ruprecht would whip out this huge book and open it and read all the bad things he did all year, which his parents had told them, right? And this is some friends of ours, right, from Germany. So that's pretty freaky, isn't it? That's weird. Like, they still do that stuff. This is a parent's ploy to get the kids to behave, right? So anyway, that was pretty interesting. So this is really like a big thing in southern Germany. Okay, so let's see. Look at my notes here and see if I forgot anything important. So basically, this Knecht Ruprecht guy, he's like a less scary version of that other guy, Krampus, who I wouldn't even show you his picture, right? Okay, I seem to be losing my voice all of a sudden. So anyway, this is somebody asked what language these guys are in. This is Germany we're talking about, and the other one was Austria, right? So they're all speaking German. Yeah. Okay. Now let's move on get out of Europe now, and let's go down to Colombia. Anybody know where Colombia is? Colombia. Anybody? You can tell me in the chat box if you want to. Unless you don't know, then I'll have to tell you. Yes, a lot of people do. So South America, thank you. Somebody was supposed to like say that. Good, appreciate it. Okay, it's in South America. So, of course, they speak Spanish there. So Colombia is a pretty cool place. And they have this tradition, which is probably practiced in other places as well. We can ask our friends from Ecuador if they do this too. They have this thing called Dia de las Velitas, which is Little Candles Day, Day of Little Candles, literally. So this is celebrated on December 7th, which is kind of leading into the Christmas season. And Colombia, like most of Latin America, is a Catholic country, right? Mostly Catholic. So this day is especially intended to honor the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus, right? So it's kind of Christmas related in that way. So what they do is they go all out putting candles and all kinds of lights, lanterns in their windows, in their doorways, on their porches, their front yards. In some places, there are really big light displays like the one you see here. Different towns and neighborhoods have competitions against each other on who can do the most, like the biggest and coolest. So that's pretty cool. So to our friends from Ecuador, do you do something like this? Dia de las Velitas, the candle day, Day of Little Candles. Let's see what they have to say. I don't know how much this is all of Latin America or just mainly Colombia. Colombia is like mainly what you hear about doing this kind of thing. Anyway, when you have a chance, you can let us know if you do something similar in Ecuador, since the countries are close to each other. Okay. Is that date somehow related to Hanukkah? No, I don't think so. So you hear a lot in a lot of places on December 6th or 7th, there's usually something that starts the Christmas season. It might be like St. Nicholas Day on the 6th, or this is like Virgin Mary Day on the 7th. Yeah, that's a common thing. Okay, so anyway, let's go on to another thing that they do in Latin America. This is more like most of Latin America doing this, and also in Spain, right, where a lot of these customs came from originally. Oh, Dawn is saying, so we lived in Venezuela. From what you can recall, they don't do that. Yeah, I've mainly been reading about how it's Colombia. It's mainly a Colombia thing. And maybe not even everywhere in Colombia, but certain towns, it's really big. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. So here's another one. La Nochebuena. La Nochebuena. It means the night good, or the good night, right? Which actually is the Spanish word for Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve in Spanish is just La Nochebuena. So this is just, we'll just talk about some of the Christmas Eve traditions that they have in Latin America. You can see a picture in a church there with some of the elaborate decorations and flowers and stuff that, that have been brought and placed there. So basically it's feast time. They have, most countries seem to use roasted pig as like the center of the feast, and then like a million other things on the side. The only exception that I read about is Peru, also in South America, where they do turkey instead of pig. So yeah, kind of more like the US. But roasted pig, and then people usually go to Mass, which is a Catholic church service, in the evening, and they stay very late. Usually goes to like midnight or even later. And then they come home past midnight, open presents in the middle of the night, and then they toast each other. It's like cheers to the new year or stuff like that. Okay. So they don't use a Christmas tree. They use a nativity scene, right? And they put presents around that. So, and then I also read that it's considered lucky to be the one who gets to put the baby Jesus into the manger. I guess they take turns putting different pieces and stuff. Okay. So let's see here. Anybody have any questions? Let's see. Katie is asking, what time do they celebrate? Do you mean like time of day or what day? Like this that we're talking about now is December 24th, right? It's it's Christmas Eve. Okay. Yeah, and they started in the evening, which is kind of interesting. Okay, anybody else? Could you get on the mic to talk about midnight mass? Probably you could. At the end, we're going to have a time where we ask you guys about some of your Christmas traditions and stuff. So that would be a good time to do that. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Couldn't tell because of the name there. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So let's move on then. Got a few others to talk about, and then we'll see if you guys have anything to share too. Now, next up. This is, okay, warning here. What I'm about to discuss with you is not for those with a weak stomach. So, yeah, there's a reason I didn't put a picture on here. The picture you see is the flag of Greenland, because we're trying to avoid putting a picture of this Christmas dish that is very popular in Greenland, okay? So it's called kiviak. And you guys know anything about Greenland? Greenland is in the far north, right? It's considered a territory of Denmark, but it's not anywhere near Denmark. And it's inhabited mostly by people who are Inuit, they say. They're like, the old word is Eskimo. Okay, so you guys probably have heard Eskimo, right? So it's far north, and they have their own culture, their own language, and they've made their own Christmas customs. This is a dish that is actually not used just at Christmas, but it's used during the winter for any important occasion, including Christmas. It could be birthdays or whatever. So what kiviak is, it's basically a hollowed out seal. Okay, imagine they got seals up there, right? So it's dead. They hollow it out, scoop out the innards, and they stuff the seal with 400 to 500 dead auks. What's an auk, you say? It's a seabird, okay, kind of like a seagull. So you stick 500 dead seabirds into the seal, and then you seal it up and let it sit for up to 7 months and ferment, okay? Let's all picture that for a minute. Okay, I'm done. So what you do is you slice it open, scoop out the fermented insides, and serve it for Christmas. Yum. Why? Well, because in the winter it's hard to find food in that harsh winter climate. So this is a way they could get meat during the winter when it's hard to go out and hunt, like in the snowstorms and stuff. And it's like just a way to preserve meat. And yeah, you get used to it. I can't say it tastes bad. I've never tried it. Maybe it's good. But just that seems really difficult to me. Like I just, anyway, so yeah, why don't we move on? Okay, so this is, well, actually not much yummier looking, but this is, let's go to Africa. South Africa. Traditional food of South Africa, or many people in South Africa, is, or includes, deep fried caterpillars. Woohoo! Yeah, there they are. Don't you just want to pop one in your mouth right now? It does actually, I think I could deal with that easier than the stuffed seal thing. Yeah, especially with a nice little garnish on it and stuff. The texture, I don't know. Would it be chewy or crunchy? I'm not really sure. How do they cook? Well, they're deep fried. So I think, yeah, just a lot of oil, maybe a little bit of breading, some spices, and you're good. Yum. Okay, that's really all I have to say about that. Now, while we're on the subject of Christmas foods, let's do this. Kentucky Fried Chicken. It is actually, believe it or not, the official or like a very popular Christmas dish in Japan. Now, there are a couple weird things going on here. The first is Japan is not a Christian country at all. Like they're compared to the whole population, there are not that many Christians there. So Christmas is not a big deal there, right? However, they have been borrowing some stuff from America, from Western countries. One of them is fast food, right? And they do take some Christmas traditions here and there just because it seems kind of cool to them. They don't really know much about it, or, you know, they're not Christians or anything. But anyway, for the past 40 years, this has been like a thing. Like it's gotten really big. And the head of Kentucky Fried Chicken in Japan 40 years ago is the guy who thought of this. He's like, let's make Kentucky Fried Chicken the official food of Christmas. Yeah. Okay. And so he publicized that this is what, and everybody believed it, and it grew and grew. And now over 3.6 million Japanese families eat Kentucky Fried Chicken on Christmas. What's up with that? That's a lot of people. And sometimes they like will order it weeks in advance. They'll stand in huge lines to get it because it's so popular. This is like a massive thing in Japan. So yeah, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Remember that next time you eat KFC, think of Japan. Okay, I think that's pretty cool. Now, we'll kind of move away a little bit from food, and let's actually let me go here first, and then we'll go back to the other one. So Macedonia. Some of you. Oh wait, you're asking again. What time do they celebrate? Wait, who? Do you mean KFC people? KFC eating people? I assume on Christmas they just chow down with their KFC and then move on with their lives, because I don't think they get time off for Christmas or anything like that in Japan. It's not a Christian country, so yeah. Okay, so moving right along, those of you who know anything about our family know that we lived in a country called Macedonia for about 6 years. If you don't know where Macedonia is, and many people don't because it's kind of small, it's in the southern part of Europe, and it's right next to Greece. It's a really tiny country. They have a lot of mountains there. It's a really neat place. So we lived there for 6 years. And I wanted to tell you real quickly about Christmas there, because there's some things that are really different about Christmas in Macedonia. The first thing is that they don't celebrate it on December 25th. So everybody focus, please. Let's not have random chatting, okay? Right, we think of December 25th as like when Christmas is celebrated, right? And in most places it is, but in Macedonia, as we'll see, and some places, some other places that are kind of related, they celebrate it on January 7th. Anybody have any idea why that is? We're going to see that in Russia they celebrate it on January 7th, in Serbia and Bulgaria, a couple of places like that. That's because most people in those countries are Eastern Orthodox, right? It's a type of Christianity. Like some people are Catholic, some are Protestant. In those countries, most are Eastern Orthodox, and they go by a different sort of calendar. I don't remember all the details about it, but they follow a different calendar, an older one. And so the equivalent of December 25th turns out to be January 7th on their calendar. Right? So that's why, because they're following a different calendar. So they do it on January 7th. This is just a picture of a Macedonian village in the wintertime, kind of very scenic there. So what they do, they actually start celebrating on January 5th, and that day is called Kolede. They have like a name for that day, Kolede. So in the evening of that day, they have these huge bonfires. We would like look out of our apartment and see in the little courtyard down below this big fire and people throwing stuff into it. It's like, what's going on? But then we learned it's Christmas. So they have a big bonfire. And then the next day, which is like their Christmas Eve, right? Early in the morning, kids will go around in groups and knock on doors. And when you open the door, this is like early, like 5, 6 a.m., okay? You open the door, you're all groggy. What do you want? And they start singing traditional Christmassy songs. Well, Colede songs, like the pre-Christmas songs. Some of them seem to include stuff like, if you don't give me treats, I'm going to throw eggs at you and stuff like that. Okay? So you're expected to give them treats. It's kind of like trick-or-treating, except really early in the morning on Christmas Eve, right? So you give them stuff and they move on and they're singing and stuff. And you're like, what just happened? I'm a foreigner. I'm so sleepy. Anyway, so yeah, that took some getting used to. Let's see. At the end, so then there's special foods, of course, for Christmas. One thing is there's a special Christmas bread, and there's a coin baked into it, like on purpose, right? It's not like, whoops, I got their coins. It's supposed to be a coin in there, and it's good luck to the one who finds it, right? I don't know. I wonder how many people go to the emergency room with like coins in their stomach and stuff like that. Oops, I swallowed it. I guess they know to eat it really carefully. So I think that's all I wanted to tell you about Christmas in Macedonia. So can I give you guys a language lesson real quick? Would that freak you out, or are you okay with that? Somebody says no. Somebody says no. Yes, please. Sure. Okay. I'm going to listen to the people saying yes. So the rest of you, as my mom always used to say, tough noogies. Okay, so here you go. Here's what you say to somebody on Christmas Day in Macedonia. You say, Christos se rodi. Can you say that? You got to roll your R's a little bit, right? Christos se rodi. That means Christ is born. And then they're supposed to answer, Na vistina se rodi. That means truly is born. Okay, it's like a greeting, like just nobody thinks about it, they just say that. Okay, so thank you, that's all the language lesson you're getting. Now let's finish up with Russia. Russia is kind of similar to Macedonia in that they're both mostly Eastern Orthodox. So they also celebrate Christmas on January 7th. But Russia has a few other things going on that's kind of interesting. They have this Santa Claus type character called Ded Moroz in Russian. That means father, or rather grandfather Frost. Grandfather Frost. And sometimes he's dressed in red, sometimes in blue. Like he doesn't look quite like the same as the American Santa, right? He's a different character. So this is Grandfather Frost, Ded Moroz. And he is accompanied usually by his granddaughter called Snegurочка, which means something like little snowflake kind of thing. It's like the word sneg in there means snow. Okay, so here's a picture of some people dressed up as Grandfather Frost and Snegurочка. They go around, and they give presents to kids. Let's see, I'm going to make sure I don't forget. Oh, I need to tell you that in Russia, they kind of, it's a little confusing because they have New Year's, right, on January 1st, and then they have Christmas on January 7th. And the thing is, in Russia, New Year's is a much bigger and more important celebration than Christmas, because for a lot of years they were communists, and the communists were trying to, like, not talk about God or religion or anything like that. So they made New Year's more important. So these guys are kind of more for New Year's rather than Christmas, right? It's all a little mixed up. So these guys are more for New Year's. And there are other like special foods that they do eat for Christmas, and people go to church and stuff. Let me see if there's anything else I need to tell you. That's basically it. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. We have about 20 minutes left. We don't need to take the whole time if we don't need to. But I'm going to tell you one more thing, and I want you guys to be preparing to tell us about any Christmas traditions you guys have that you want to tell us about. Okay. So let's try to avoid, again, like random chatting, but if you do have some Christmas traditions, you can tell us. there's one other thing I wanted to mention. I don't have a picture of it. Something that we experienced that's kind of sort of Christmas related and kind of not. And we lived in Turkey also for about 7 years, 6, 7 years. And Turkey is not a Christian country at all. It's a Muslim country. And, most people kind of knew something about Christmas. They kind of tended to mix up Christmas and New Year's, like they didn't get the difference between them. So a lot of times people would ask us, like, what's going on with this Christmas thing? What do you do? But in some places we would see pictures like hanging on the street, a big picture, like a poster of Santa Claus with a big slash across him, like no Santa's here. Anyway, they were kind of trying to tell everybody you shouldn't celebrate Christmas. It's a bad thing. So I don't know. That was kind of weird. We were a little freaked out by that. But then people told us, most people don't think that way. They're okay with it. Calm down. You have a cousin in Turkey? Cool. Okay. So, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them now in the chat box. Or if you have any traditions that you guys do that might be a little unique, you can let us know in the chat box. And one person wanted to get on the microphone and talk about midnight mass. I think that'd be pretty cool. A. Peters, sure. So let me do that. We won't have everybody get on the mic here, but maybe one, or if somebody else wants to do it really bad, you can. So let me find you. So you guys can be typing your traditions in the chat box while we're doing this. Let me bring up A. Peters, and I will unmute you, and you can go ahead and talk, and we should all be able to hear you. Go for it.
Okay, so most people I know don't celebrate midnight mass, so I'm just trying to explain exactly what it is.
Okay.
When you're Catholic like us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I gotta go. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay.
I think I have to go.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Thanks
Okay.
anyway. So I'll go ahead and mute you again. So midnight mass is a Catholic tradition. I think it's pretty cool, actually, to go to church at midnight, like right on Christmas Eve. Let's see. Let me scroll up and see what people are saying here. Are there any chickens left after the long lines? I have no idea. What if you're like just a random guy that wanting some KFC and it's like Christmas and you're like, no. Okay, so let's see here. Eric Bolt is saying, my sister and I get one present the day after Thanksgiving. Okay. Is there like a special reason for that? Is it a special day for you guys, or just like a tradition your family is doing? So Shelby says, the one thing I celebrate is Jesus. Okay. I kind of would concur with that. That's like, we're trying to make that our family's focus too. Let's see here. You go light looking. We do that too. Seems like there's not as many this year. I don't know why. Going around looking at the Christmas lights. So let's see here. Scrolling down. Larissa says, my family goes ice skating on Christmas Eve, and throughout the Christmas season, my siblings and I count houses with Christmas decor. Cool, okay. So let's stop asking about the KFC lines, okay? I think we get the picture here. So let's see, Phoebe and Getty. Christmas morning, we read from Luke in the Bible, and then Christmas Eve, we open one gift, usually have overnight coffee cake for breakfast, Christmas morning and eggnog. Cool, I like that one. Let's see, question, what's the name of the devil guy that was with St. Nick? In Austria, his name is Krampus, like Krampus. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. Oh, so in Venezuela, says Elijah, they do the pesebre, the manger, and they have dinner on the 24th. Okay. Then the next day, one or more gift is put for the child. Okay. Cool. Thank you. So Emily says, we eat lamb with a bunch of veggies for our Christmas dinner. Well, that's neat. I like that. So also we have a Christmas pudding for dessert, and it has a British coin in it, and whoever gets it gets good luck. Yeah, kind of like the Macedonian bread thing. It's probably easier to see it in the pudding, though, like not to ingest the coin, know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's see here. In Norway, says Eowyn, they do something similar to the coin and bread, except it's almond. It's an almond in rice cream. Yeah, I've heard of that. And the person who gets the almond wins a marzipan pig. Christmas pig. So instead of Santa, they have Nisser, which are basically short little Santas. And if you don't give them porridge, they will burn your barn down. Daggone, that's harsh. Okay, so yeah, I'd avoid Norway too during the Christmas season. Get your barn burned down. Anyway, we sit around and watch TV. Okay, that's festive. As long as you're doing it together. So let's see here. So Elijah says, and they ask, que te trae el niño Jesús. Okay, cool. So let's see here. Can you tell about Thanksgiving? Well, we're kind of trying to focus on Christmas here. If you have anything like Christmas related, that'd be great. Let's see. A birthday cake for baby Jesus. I like that one. Let's see here. I know, I like some of these. I clap cheeks on Fortnite. I have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds kind of fun. Yeah, okay. So we hide a Christmas spider in our tree, and each gets turns to look for it. A Christmas spider? Wow. The person who finds it gets a prize. Okay, I like that. We bake a cake for Jesus too. Usually it's tie-dye. Whoa, it's like hippies and Jesus coming together. I like that. Okay. So let's see. We have cinnamon rolls for breakfast and a big feast for dinner. Neat. Okay, so Grayson says Christmas Eve, we open a present, then Christmas Day, my family gets together and we share gifts in the morning. Christmas Eve, we usually have dinner. My Christmas usually lasts a couple days because my family's so big. Whoa. Yeah, we're doing 2 Christmases in our family, one with each sets of grandparents. So Erwin says, also in Norway, they celebrate on Christmas Eve. So since my mom is Norwegian, we do that. Cool. I like that. Elijah. So you're talking about Venezuela, right? So you will see Santa, etc., in a store, and they're incorporating more of Santa down there. So Santa is spreading throughout the world, unfortunately. Okay. So let's see here. We eat waffles. We give Santa donuts. Is it a real pig? Oh, that's like the Christmas pig thing? Yeah, I don't know. So we eat Chinese food on Christmas Eve after Christmas Eve. Cool. We're going to do our traditional Pizza Hut dinner on Christmas Eve, actually. Because when we lived in Turkey, we always did Domino's pizza on Thanksgiving because there was no turkey, which is kind of ironic because we lived in Turkey. Anyway, so let's see. Elijah's telling us more about Venezuela. They play music called guiata and make hallacas, which is more like pasteles. Neat. Okay. So I think I got everything mostly. So let's see. Oh, here's another one. Oh, so this is from A. Peters again. So midnight mass is at midnight. It takes about 3 hours. Okay, so a 3-hour church service at midnight. Cool. So my family leaves church and we get home around 4 a.m. and go to bed. We do use a Christmas tree and manger scenes. We open presents on Christmas Day. Also, we have a season of Advent, right, that starts 4 Sundays before Christmas. Cool. Thank you for explaining that. Okay, I think I'm at the end of the chat box. So, yeah, my family does this thing called Christmas Adam. I have no idea where this came from. It's my wife's idea. I don't know. I'll have to ask her where it came from. But yeah, like the day before Christmas Eve, get it? Adam and Eve. See what we did there? Anyway, so Christmas Adam, all we do is give out M&Ms and think about how Christmas is coming. I think that's about it. Yeah. Anyway, I'll have to ask her where that came from. I don't know. Can't remember. Okay. So, yeah, so basically we try to read the Christmas story from the Bible, and we do presents Christmas Eve or Christmas morning or mixture of the two. And Yeah. So, okay. Thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate it. So I guess we're about done. Um, if nobody else has anything like really important they need to say, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully I didn't gross you out or freak you out with any of these unusual traditions. But it's good to like get a glimpse of what they do around the world. It's not all the Santa Claus and reindeer and stuff everywhere, right? And it's kind of cool when each family makes their own too. We're still like, we've only been back in the US for 2 years, so we're still trying to kind of make our own traditions and stuff. So I'm going to take some of your guys' idea. What was the seal bird thing called? That dish was called kiviak. Kiviak. Yeah, I do not recommend it. All right, then. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. If you want, you can go to the class page where you found the link to class, and you will find a recording of this class there, and also like a list of some of the most important facts that we talked about. I typed it up, so you can download that if you want to. Okay. And yeah, so let's see. Does anybody? Oh, as a beginner in Spanish, can we do live classes with you, and when? You can. We're like halfway in the middle of one now. If you're a total beginner, the next one would start in September. If you're halfway through Spanish 1 on the Easy Peasy site, then you could probably, there's a few more spaces you could jump in if you want to write to me. Okay, so if you guys have any questions at all, my email address is eplanguagelive@gmail.com. Ciao. Yeah, and I know there's a million cool traditions around the world I did not talk about. Sorry if I left one out that you like a lot, but maybe we'll have volume 2 next year or something. Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. And Merry Christmas to everybody. Bye. Merry Christmas. Take care.